Okay, so we will be slowly starting. Today we will be talking to you about how not to build AI products, but more how to leverage AI to build products and what AI can help you with and what role spans from all that. And AI have promised us a lot of things. It promised us 10x faster product building. But we have a unique chance to work with companies, come to companies, and see how they operate with AI. And most products that are built with AI or AI powered are still shit and still slow. So there is this weird misclick. Should be better, right? We're Piotr and Wojtek. We are working with companies to help them build better products. We have, 30-something years of combined product building experience. And right now we're teaching how to build better products with AI. Here are some of the companies you may know us from: CD Projekt, GOG, Displayed, Booking, Allegro, and we have recently launched a newsletter called superhero.tech. So we're inviting you to subscribe there. And in the AI world, you may know us from AI Product Heroes, which is a cohort course from the Brave Courses Studio. We just had first cohort. We had 600 people, very high NPS, so we're better than iPhone here. And for the second cohort, we're just launching, and today is actually the last day to buy a pre-sale price. So if you haven't signed and you like what we're saying, please do. Anyway, getting back to our subject. The AI promised us 10x faster product building, and it delivered, partially. If you look at the stats, our programmers are working faster. 41% of code is AI generated based on the last GitHub report. 21% of Y Combinator startups have 95% code written by AI. And this is a top venture capital firm out there. And it's not just about engineers. Not only you have to look for, the son of your mother's friend to build something for you. Right now, your grandma can, or your mother can build products. So English has become the new programming language. And not just for engineers. Your designers write better mockups. Your PMs are able to write faster PRDs and smarter PRDs. So it should be good, yeah? Is it? Is it? No. If we look at different data, it seems like the world of product building isn't as great as it ever was. 80% of software features are rarely or never used. At Google, only 10 to 20% of experiments generate positive results. Microsoft, a bit better, 1/3 is of the things that they build are effective, 1/3 are neutral, which means we're adding product slop to our product. Doesn't bode well. And 1/3 have negative results. So did AI change this percentage? No, it didn't. It didn't. Why? Because if you have a bad process, AI just changes how fast everyone fails. So it's important to understand how to leverage AI using specific process and what roles will actually be victorious in the whole thing. So we're enough with us being smartasses. What's the right process? 5 steps, pretty simple. First, talk to your customers. And I think this is the biggest sin of the product organization that we're seeing and technology organization. No one is talking to the customer. Everyone is like, okay, your CEO has an idea. Just came when he was just watching something inspiring on Twitter. And that's the source of what we're doing. No one is talking to the customer. So that's an important step of that. Second, formulate hypothesis. Hypothesis is something that it's either true or false. We need to test it. And that's the third step. You need to test the hypothesis. And then, if we know whether this is something worth building, then we're building an improved solution, and we iterate. And this is a very fast cycle that should be done by the least amount of people possible. So enough of us talking about things. We're going to show you stuff, how we leverage AI to help with each and every one of these steps. So it's mięsko time. Wojtek?
Yes, I have the clicker. Okay. So I'll be doing a very short demo of, like, to show you how we can use AI to effectively and rightfully build products in the right process. And a bit of a context. I'm the guy in the room. Usually when you're working in a team and in your companies, I'm the guy in the room who can be replaced by a parrot, because I'm the guy who usually asks questions: when it will be done, how much long, right? When will you finish this task? But now, thanks to AI, I can actually do some productive stuff, and that's what I'm gonna try to show you. So coming back to the right process, first of all, you need to talk to your customers. And usually that involved a lot of, I would say, hassle related to actually finding those customers or these people that you want to cater to. You need to identify the customer, the target group, identify their pain points, and then confirm it with them. Well, how do you find these people, right? So for example, we work at GOG. It's kind of easy for us because we have our own Discord server, so we can actually go out to these people and talk to them directly. But if you don't have customers, well, that's a problem. Where do you start, right? Do you stand next to the metro station and hand out donuts for a conversation about their pain points? Sounds a little bit weird. So actually right now what AI allows you is to expedite that whole process and actually do it like a one-person user research army. So what I did is I actually went to Claude and I asked him, hey, I want to learn my clients' pain points. Help me with that. That's exactly what I asked him. And Claude replies, cool thing, man. Like, let's do that. Where do they hang out? So my idea was, let's check what people are actually talking about on Hacker News. My idea was, let's plug into Hacker News, see what are the recent trends there, and understand what are the pain points of customers there. And Claude said, okay, building, let's get to work. Let's check out what people are saying on Hacker News. So what I've got from Claude.
This is working. Can you use both hands?
I don't see the cursor. Oh, okay. So Yeah. So Cloud generated a whole repository for me. Well, he called it Startup Idea Generation. And in that repository, we have a scraper for Hacker News. And he started with that. So he scraped Hacker News and looked for trends. So trending pain point analyzer, he created a whole script in Python. He then, of course, together with me, he asked me a couple of questions, asked me, okay, what sort of trends are we looking for, in what time frame? Everything, I replied in English. I'm interested in trends from the last 7 days. I gave him an example of what a trend might be. Sure thing, even like he's written an example. So this whole prompt here, he read it. I just answered a couple of questions that was really, really lightweight. So after he's done that, we got a list of trends where for each trend he generated a startup idea for me. So for example, one of the trends was that people who work in remote settings, I have a remote team, somebody's in San Francisco, somebody's in New York, I'm in Warsaw. The problem is managing our calendars and scheduling meetings is actually a hassle. And he actually for each of these ideas, for example, mentioned how many users mentioned that problem in the last 7 days. So for example, in this case, six users, impact high. Direct quotes of what people said and what could be the AI opportunity, what could be the product for that. Of course, I tweaked that a little bit with him because he asked me, okay, what is a good startup idea? So I'm a very lazy person, so what I did, I actually went to ChatGPT and asked him, hey, what would Sam Altman, Mark Anderson, and Paul Graham say? What is a good startup idea? So he actually generated a synthesis, like 4 points of what is a good startup idea, and I added one simple thing on top of that, make it doable in a weekend using AI tools. And that is let's say, the formula that Claude ran with. after he did all that research and formulated those hypotheses, I think I went a little bit ahead of the slides. He actually helped me formulate exactly what are the ideas for startups that we can do based on the pain points that people had. So I mentioned the one about managing calendars, where there were a couple of others. And after I've had those formulas, I went a little bit ahead. So the idea is people have trouble managing their calendars when they're working remotely, but how does that actually translate to a actual product idea? So I went ahead and So I went ahead and used something called the Spec kit by GitHub, which is essentially a framework in which for an idea of an app, AI uses this specific framework and breaks it down into actual PRD, which is a shortcut for product requirements document. So essentially a specification from the business, from the user perspective. So he actually did it here. So you can see what is the problem statement. Remote teams managers waste 30, 40 minutes per day performing manual time zone coordination, et cetera, et cetera. User scenarios and testing. As a remote engineering manager, I need to find an available meeting time across my team's time zones so that I don't waste 10 minutes per meeting per time zone. Acceptance scenarios. This is a whole big document that he's written. And, when I was a junior product manager, I used to spend, days writing documents like this and then testing them with engineers. Now I actually generate the document like that, test it, look through it with AI, and it's essentially it's good to go on the first go, specifically for new product development. Of course, if you're working on products with established code base and workflows, it's a little bit more complicated than that. But he's written me the entire specification with a potential implementation plan, as you can see here, all the steps, all the tasks, and of course the requirements. So what are the specific user scenarios, technical requirements, and alignment with the constitution. Constitution is like the high-level rules for every project that are created with SpecKit. So actually So actually during, I would say, 30 or 40 minutes, I was able not only to research hacker news, get examples of pain points from users, pick the pain points that are most interesting for me, formulate hypotheses, start up ideas based on frameworks from Paul Graham, Sam Altman, Mark Andreessen, and generate a very detailed specification that then I could actually go on and verify with users.
Yes. So technically from the Spec kit, you can start working on the actual technical plan. For that, if you have not established a technical stack yet, Spec kit can help you with that. So we have the hypothesis, we have it written down, we have it refined, and now it's time to show it to the world, show it to our users, and see whether this product actually makes sense. This is a very important step in the whole process. This is testing the hypothesis, and there are multiple ways of testing the hypothesis. Probably one of the most common one is actually building a product prototype. So you build something that either looks and works somewhat like a real product, and then you just allow some people in closed doors and maybe in production environment to test it out. So you can use things like Cloud Code and codexes, cursors, if you have already an established code base, to build that, to make it fast, because it's all about, showing something to the users very, very fast. But we're going to show you how to be even more lazy and use things like Lovable, which is an AI builder to build it. As I said, right now, I have a decision to make, whether I want to continue with SpecKit or skip the SpecKit and just ask Cloud Code, okay, just build something like that based on the file that Wojtek was showing you. Or use something like Lovable. And we will show you Lovable because I think for the least technical people, it's a very good barrier to enter. So you don't need to be guardrailing everything. When it comes to your product managers, your product designers, you can use tools like this. because this isn't a production code. With prototypes, we're trying to test the hypothesis. What we'll do with that code, entirely different thing. So Lovable works like an LLM, and it has LLM as model besides, but it generates code and visual application for you. So we're going to show you how this was done. So what we did is actually we have copied the specification file that Wojtek showed you here that was generated by Spec into Lovable. This is very lazy. And it did quite okay, actually. So there was user stories inside, there was data scheme already, and based on that, he generated all the code that you can see here that follows some technical stack that we have defined. It's a public code, so I can show it to my customer the same day. It has some analytics, so I can see whether he clicked on that form. I can hook up some analytics, for example, from PostHog to see how the session recordings were used there. I can publish this to GitHub and start working with that. It even has some interesting cloud functions like Postgres database. It uses Supabase underneath. It can add authentication and some shenanigans. It has a quite easy connectors with different LLMs. So with Gemini, I think you don't even need to set your API key until some levels. So it can build a pretty good things. This isn't found. I'm gonna show you anyway. So this other project, it has database connected. It allowed me to sign. It allowed me to create event. And it was pretty much the same workflow. So here's database. I can export that database to my stack. But the important bit here is that I can very fastly show something working or somewhat working to the customers and see what they're doing with that and apply those learnings to the actual product. Because if we know what's working and what's not working, then we can prove whether our hypothesis is true or false. What I would do with those products, I would check the data. Analytics, web analytics, product analytics, session recordings, talk to some users. We weren't aware that PostHog were going to be here. However, we actually do use PostHog as well. So there is a web interface that Michael showed, and there's also a CLI interface that you can use. You've mentioned the MCP server, very cool stuff. So you can use both. So it allows you to talk to different products and then see patterns. And then you just build. Because typically, you have an idea and you build. And that's not how you actually should be building the right product. And you iterate. And by iterate, we mean that you just repeat the cycle. So in here, Cloud Code, or even engineers can help you with that. You have code that was tested with users that they seem it solves some real problem, hopefully. And you can integrate it into your repository of code. And if not, just throw it away. That's okay. And you iterate. That's the whole cycle. Now, typically, this was very, very lengthy, and it required a lot of roles, at least 5 here. You had researcher, you had PM, you had designer, you had engineer, you had QAs, because engineers they don't want to test, let's be honest here. But right now, you don't.
Yeah, with AI, you don't. You can actually close the gaps between these roles within one person. When I started off as a PM in this industry, I used to query SQL databases, create designs in Photoshop, test everything that was built, Currently, as a PM, I'm the parrot in the room, right? Like we've established. But with AI, I don't have to be. I can be a one-man army. I can research. I can verify with users the hypothesis. I can build prototypes. I can finally ship them. And we call these people who have these capabilities, who have these tools, resources, and also specifically, I think, what's the most important thing here, the mindset. We call this role the product builder. And regardless whether you are a project manager, product manager, marketing person, engineer, designer, whomever, UX designer, you can become, thanks to AI, you can become a product builder. So who's a product builder? It's someone who can build on their own without waiting for others. Product builders perform best either solo or in very small teams, groups of 2 or 3 people. Think of them as, startup, full stack people who can do everything from ideation through creation to launch and marketing. And the product builders it could be at their core an engineering. So it's basically, for example, an engineer who goes into product or design, right? It could be a design person who's using AI to code. It could be a product person who's using AI to create designs. Lastly, it could be a marketing person that can create campaigns and landing pages and workflows, automation workflows without the need to bother engineers using AI. What's most important for this role is agency or the mindset. There is no problem that the product builder cannot solve because you have at your fingertips, the whole knowledge of the world and the most helpful and the most, I would say, creative and efficient tool ever created in the history of mankind, right? You can actually solve every problem with AI if you put your mind to it, if you have the right mindset. Who played Cyberpunk here? Okay, we have some gamers. So when we think of that in Cyberpunk at the beginning, you choose your background. You can either be a nomad, a street kid, or corpo. Think of that, you're either an engineer, product manager, or the marketing person. So that's your core. But then you augment yourself. In Cyberpunk, every character, when you play, you can put it like cybernetic implants, arguments in yourself. You can jump higher. You can be smarter. You can see farther. You can have a shield. We think of AI in the same way. You are somebody, you start off with your core competency, and then you add your arguments. And these are not just our words. It's not like we pull this out of our heads. This is what Mark Anderson says, that the future belongs to generalists with expertise in 6-8 fields, and they can use AI to actually cross the gaps between the technical competencies that they move. So, if you're interested how to become a product builder, it's a new role emerging. And personally, I'm a head of product at a 100-people company, and I would say we have maybe 2 or 3 product builders out of the 30-something people product and tech department. So it's a new role. AI Product Heroes at the beginning, like Piotr said, we are teaching you how to become a legit product builder. But also, if you're interested to read more about this concept, we just started writing about that on superhero.tech on our new newsletter. So be sure to subscribe and join. We'll be shadow dropping a lot more content on the subject matter very soon. Thank you. Almost on time.
Do you have any questions? We have a few minutes. This gentleman.
Okay, so I have a maybe kind of philosophical question because we are changing how we work. How do you see like new people that are coming into the tech or coming into the industry, what they should focus on and how they should build their careers?
The thing here is to build some sort of core competency that gives you some edge in the actual building, and then start using the AI to build additional fields. So if I were right now be starting in the AI era, first of all, I would learn the AI literacy. That would be the first thing I would actually start using. And then using the AI literacy, I would start filling the gaps when it comes to the actual product building. So I will probably start with not coding, not at all. I think marketing will have a tremendous edge when it comes to building product, because it's easy to build a clone of Todoist or whatever SaaS app you can have. It's not that easy to give a compelling promise to the people. Why should you use my app? So I think that would be the first skill besides AI literacy, that I would add to my background, and then follow on if I want to build products.
I would say very quickly one more thing: learn how to learn. Now I have a lot of free time as a product manager because AI is doing a lot of my work. And when I set up a product strategy for my products, I have some idea, hypothesis. What happens if we do this? I have an idea that this will happen. And what I do sometimes, I ask AI, is there a scientific theory that is close to what I'm saying? Can you find some, allegory between what I'm trying to say here and an existing scientific theory? Normally, I wouldn't be able to do that because I would have to go to the library or whatever, look for books from scientists or look for papers. I don't have time for that. He's giving me some ideas. So if you have that curiosity, if you know how to learn new concepts, I think you'll have an edge.
We actually had lawyers that were attending the AI Product Heroes course that learned how to build products with just having the right mindset and understanding the process.
We have a question there, yeah?
Okay. Well,
Okay.
What I'm missing in this conversation about product builders is something that, let's call it last mile, or let's say production aspect of building products. Because, yeah, definitely, no question about it, one day you have the application, but very few people talk about the fact that once you go prod, and once you go and provide the product to your users, you jump into this pool of many obligations, legal, security, maintenance, disaster recovery, etc., where as long as your product works, cool, and you get your users, you get some statistics, everybody's happy. But the moment the shit hits the fan, because your product is down, you don't know, you have no clue why. You can just rely on the agent. Somebody has a problem, you violated the GDPR because your data leaked. No AI will protect you from that. And as a product builder, first and foremost, you have your działalność gospodarcza, where you're responsible for your money. You are not spółka ZO, you are not limited liability. So this is very, very few courses, very few blog posts actually touch this project, because everybody right now in YOLO mode, let's make apps. We saw the graphs, GitHub is just rising with the code. But then you learn that majority of the users are keeping their keys publicly available to the services because they have no clue about those things.
That's why we believe engineers will be in very high demand, and we're not saying this is a model that will work for one person company. This is a model that actually works fantastically in big companies, that you have this last mile support, you have this platform that will fix those problems for you. You have people competent enough to find those problems, but you put two people in the room and they can operate pre-production very, very fast. And I believe the AI tools in the last 6 months went from into okay, it's interesting, even for engineers. And I've been an engineer for 20-something years. So I feel you. We're not advocating just do YOLO, but at least do YOLO and see whether this works for customers before you do BDD, DDD, microservices and shit like that everyone is super happy about. And I was in the past as an engineer. I know that there were a few more questions, but unfortunately, do we have time for one more or one more? Great.
Yeah, hi. I have a question about the process that you presented. So whenever you research something through Hacker News or Reddit, those results that are high or very, very repeated very often, I would say they are likely to be red oceans, meaning there are many solutions that already exist in this space. Where is the place in your process to actually analyze the existing solutions or like a competition that already is on the market?
That's a very good point. I mean, with the rise of AI and automation and so on, all of these places sooner or later will become cesspools of bot activity, right? So we won't be able to distinguish between real trends emerging from what real people are saying versus like bots. So there will be some sort of contamination. I think that at the end of the day, companies that are able to create communities around their own product, listen very carefully to what their customers have to say in their own proprietary channels. Like GOG, we have our own Discord channel with 5,000 people on it. Will have an edge over people who are researching Red Ocean and so forth, right? So I think what we showed here is, I would say, like a proof of concept. You can actually go out there and start, scraping Reddit and other forums. For sure, there are specific niche forums, like there's people who do, I don't know, like electric engineering, right? Like Electro.appel, right? You can scrape them and look at what they're saying. Probably the bot activity is low there, right? So, but at the end of the day, as you build your own product, you will want to create your own channels of feedback with your customers or people who are interested in your company.
And you don't need to scrape the data. You can talk to users. We just showed you a principal example of something. Typically, what we would do is, okay, look at the data, talk to the users, see some sessions, combine it all, and then, okay, let's figure it out. So the first step is way more complicated than what we have shown.
And I think you're right. One last sentence. The only real antidote to AI slop is actually talking to real people, right? So I can identify some trends on Hacker News, but then when I take these trends and go on LinkedIn and ask people, hey guys, do you actually have this problem? And I see that real people are responding to that. I can actually go and have a coffee with them and actually, talk to them in real life and verify these claims. So I would treat those, scraping those forums and that trend analysis more as a sort of an inspiration that you then need to actually follow up on with real people.
Thank you for the questions. I saw some more questions, so if you want to ask them, catch us on the coffee break. We'll be staying here for some time. And yeah, thank you and happy building, everyone. And happy Hypothesize Day.
Thank you.